did it my way.
Hello everybody, I hope everybody is doing well. Today we're going to make a Little Italy pizza dough. So you can make it with your favorite toppings, whatever you want to put on there, some sauce, some cheese, some pepperoni, some meatball, just plain cheese pizza. Either way, it's going to come out really good. First thing we want to do is we're going to use about 2 to 2 1/3 cups of flour. So just have a big bowl of flour and just keep measuring it out as we go. Okay, so let's start with 1 cup of flour. And then we're going to put in 1½ teaspoons of sugar. So there's the 1 and then a half. We want 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then let's just mix this around really good. You can at this point just cut one of the packets of yeast and put it right in here. Okay, or you can also take it and you can mix it into some warm water. It is very important for the warm water to be at 105 to 115 degrees. So let's just put this in here and let's make sure that it is right in that range right there. If it's a little too hot, just let it cool just a little. Okay. So just about I'm going to let this just cool for like 2 minutes, just till it brings down a couple degrees. Very important, because with yeast, if you have too hot of water, it's going to kill the yeast. Okay, so you don't want to do that. So while we're just waiting for this, I want to tell you, traditionally in a lot of pizza recipes, or your pizza professional that's in your town, they use bread flour. Okay, typically that will come out crispier. So if you like a crispier crust, use a bread flour with this. If you're like me, I like it softer. I keep all-purpose flour in my house all the time, so with that it's just going to give you a softer crust. Okay, so when I made this recipe, it was made to be designed with all-purpose flour. So if you want it crispy, use bread flour. Okay, let me just check on this right here. We are going to use the instant yeast. Okay, but the regular yeast will be fine. If you use the regular yeast, it just takes you a little bit longer to get your pizza done. That is really it. Okay, perfect. It is at 115 right now. So we are just going to take this packet right here of yeast. If you have the packet, typically it comes with 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. And you don't have to measure it. You just need to kind of put it in here just like that. If you get a big block of the yeast, just measure it out to 2 1/4 teaspoons. Okay. So we're going to take this yeast right here and we're going to add it right into the flour mixture. Okay, so just kind of bring this together. And now let's just pour this in here. And now we're also going to add in about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Measure that out, really important. If you like a little seasoned pizza crust, you can always add just a little bit of garlic powder. Gives it a little flavor. Okay, so just 1/4 teaspoon. If you wanted a little bit of fresh basil, or if you wanted oregano, you can always add that in as well. So we're just going to mix this well. Stir it very well. And then we're going to gradually add in 1 more cup of flour. Oh, it smells good with the yeast. Make sure you get all that flour along the sides right here. And now let's measure out 1 more cup of flour. So you will definitely need the 2 cups of flour and possibly up to a third more. Okay, and if you need a little bit more flour, just add it by the tablespoon into this. Don't take another third cup and add it. Take a tablespoon and just gradually add it in, kind of mix it, work it in, and then you'll be able to tell that it is a really good dough. This looks nice and thick, just like this. I want it to be really nice and elastic. Okay. Just gonna go in and just mix that around just a little. Okay, so it should be a nice sticky ball, and I do not need to add any more flour, so 2 cups was plenty for this one. Okay, so in the meantime, what we want to do is make sure it is a very clean bowl. Just take a little olive oil, just drizzle it in there, and just take a pastry brush or something like this. Could even use your hand. Make sure your hands are clean. And just put some oil against the sides of the bowl. Okay. We're going to lightly dust the work surface here. So I am using a cutting board. Okay, lightly just dust this. And we're just going to put the flour on this cutting board here. We're going to take the dough and we're just going to knead it a couple times. So just take all of this, just drop it right on here, just kind of toss it in the flour. And you're just going to form this into a round ball. Okay. And let's just put this into the oil bowl just like this. Okay, so just take the dough, needs just a dot of flour, just a dot, just so it doesn't stick to your hands, and just kind of press it out against the sides of the bowl. Okay, don't work it too much, just get it somewhat flat, maybe about a 1/2 inch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some plastic wrap. And you want to make sure no air gets through to it. And you're going to put it into a warm spot. So there's different times of the year when you may be making this. If it is in the summertime, I would actually suggest, if you have no animals, you can go put it outside, maybe on your deck porch, just for a little while until it rises. In the winter, you could put it by a heat vent, you know, not exactly right by it, but in the area of it, so it gets nice and warm. Or you can always preheat the oven to 425 and just put this on top of the stove and just let it rise. Okay, so we're going to let this rise for a 1/2 hour, then we're going to come back and we're going to punch it down and we're going to start working our dough and form it into pizza dough. Okay. So our pizza dough, let's check on it. It has been about 40 minutes right now. It has risen really nicely. So now what we want to do is just kind of press it down just to deflate it, get all of that air out. Has a little stickiness to it. So we are just going to take a little dusting of flour. We're going to turn it out onto the work surface, whatever you may be working on. Just going to toss it in this. And now we're just going to knead this for about 3 to about 5 times. It's a nice soft dough, nice texture to it. It's like a nice real good pizza dough. So I'm just going to have a little bit more flour on in here. I just don't want it to stick. And now you can kind of start spreading it out, just like they would do at a pizza place, if you want to do it something like this. Or, if you are just starting out, you can always take a rolling pin and just kind of bring it out like that. And the dough will just keep stretching. Okay, so you want to get this to where it is about 10 to 12 inches. Okay. So And really just work this out. If you're used to doing it, you can just kind of hold it by the edges and just let it stretch. Okay, throw it around, huh? Just make sure you don't put a hole in it. You're going to have parchment paper on your pizza pan. That'll prevent it from sticking. If you don't have a round pizza pan, square pizza, they sell that, right? So that would work as well. And then you're going to have to form a crust on it. Okay, so let's just bring this out. If you're using a rolling pin, it's going to be really flat, and then you're going to need to kind of pinch the crust just like this, okay? Okay, so let's let the pizza dough just kind of rest there a minute. Let's take the pizza pan, use it a round one, parchment paper, and I'm just going to trim the little bit of parchment paper off of here. It does not have to fit the pan, because remember, it could be 10 to 12 inches. Again, if you're starting out, a rolling pin will certainly help you. And now let's just kind of lift this, put it right on this pan right here. And then we're just going to kind of form a crust. Have your oven preheated to 425. And then we're just going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, about 1 tablespoon. Just drizzle it on here, and now let's just brush this on here. So we're just going to work this right into the dough. Again, make sure that there is a nice edge to it. Okay, so you can always fold that up a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of pinch this over, give it a nice little crust to it. You can put sun-dried tomatoes on here, fresh basil, some pesto, a good marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, a little Parmesan cheese on here. If you like a little spice, you can always put a little red pepper flakes, pepperoni, sausage, meatballs. So I'm just folding that over, and then I am just going to take some of the olive oil that I have on here and just kind of hit the edges. And this is going to bake in a 425 oven, and it will take about 13 to 15 minutes. Okay. Let's make sure the crust is nice and even all the way around. You get about 2 to 3 servings out of this. Serve it with a salad. And now we're just going to spoon some marinara sauce on here. Just get it nice and round. Now we have our marinara sauce. Any pizza sauce you want to use, whether it's homemade, jarred, whatever's your favorite. But then just let it cool just a couple minutes. And when it cools a couple minutes, you can then slice it up and enjoy it. And let's take some mozzarella cheese. Let's just grate this, and then we're going to put it right over the top. Use a good quality mozzarella cheese. You can always put it in the freezer a little bit. That way it grates nice and easy. Make sure you get all the cheese that kind of sticks on the inside of the grater. You can always spray it so it doesn't stick in there. Just kind of evenly spread it out. Okay, as it bakes, it's going to spread out even more. So this way, by having that nice crust there, it will kind of catch the cheese so it won't go over onto the pan. Grate some more. Okay, just finish this up. Now, if you're somebody that likes those big bubbles on the pizza, don't do anything else. But if you want to prevent those bubbles from happening, just take a fork and just kind of go through the dough just like this. And that will just stop it, okay, from forming those really big bubbles on here. So this is ready for the oven, 425, already preheated. Again, right on the parchment paper. It'll slide off nice and easy. We'll put this right in the oven. Okay, so our Little Italy pizza is ready. And let me just show you the bottom. And it is really nice and golden here, but not too crisp. And the parchment paper really helps with that. Just let it sit a few minutes, then you can cut it and enjoy it. This took about 15 minutes in the 425 oven, but just keep your eye on it. You know, some likes it a little lighter, some like it a little darker. So maybe then give it a few more minutes. Thank you for always watching. Bye-bye.